Well, thank you all. I'd just like to sort of touch upon a few points that have been raised and then possibly look at what I believe are the key actions that we can take to explore the issue further and raise awareness within the general population. I think we started off today's meeting by saying that we felt that we were in a state of sort of paralysis and that this was a conflict that we saw as intractable and so complicated that it was one that could not be solved. And with that, I think the key action that we need to take, or that national governments or bodies, etc., need to take, is to really double down on education. So we talked briefly about the Balfour Declaration. Now, I'm sure we're all aware maybe of the Balfour Declaration, but outside this room, I guess it's something that is not widely known of the British government's role within the setting up of the current situation, and therefore its responsibilities under its treaty obligations to do something about it. And in Scotland, we developed a educational pack to go out to all the schools so that teachers could then use that within their classrooms to hopefully explain to a younger generation where the conflict or parts of the conflict maybe started from up to the present day. And we met a lot of pushback from the government. There was a lot of external influencing as to how mainstream this was going to become. So we're currently campaigning again to have it updated and to have it as part of the actual the curriculum of each school. And I think that that's a key way of educating people and raising it within the public consciousness, because I remember speaking to my daughter when the conflict started, and the feeling of helplessness that came from her, and I'm sure we all know people as well, her and her friends, they felt abhorred with what they were seeing. They understood that it was genocide. They couldn't believe that the international community was not taking any action. So the overall outcome of that was this really horrifying feeling of helplessness, which, as you say about the rules-based order, then they lose faith in that also, because if they don't see action upon this one point, then they don't see where it would be in any other way. So a lot of their information maybe comes from social media, which nowadays is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, you need to be discerning, but a brief outline of the situation on TikTok or that is something that's where a lot of younger generation people are getting their information from. So whilst the education in general, I think it's very important that one of the key actions as well is engaging with a younger generation, the people who, hopefully we can affect change now, but if this situation continues, it will be up to those that come after us to hopefully resolve it, and key to that would be education. Another important action which we touched upon as well was the engaging again with organisations within Israel. We all see it on the news. Okay, sometimes it's not quite as forefront as we would like. However, there's a lot of Israeli civic society that is not happy with this situation either. I was watching the lady from the organisation who, at the start of the conflict, she would go on the street with a picture of the children who had been murdered, and she would be vilified, and the hardliners within Israel would come past, call her all sorts of different derogatory terms. But she spoke very eloquently about how that's changed now, and people are actually beginning to understand that a life is a life, be it a Palestinian or an Israeli life. So I think going forward, having a lot of more direct contact with organisations in Israel is very important, and of course organisations in general, because we were contacted recently by a group called the European Parliamentary Network for Palestine. Now, you guys may be more aware of this organisation than I, but as I understand it, they have about 193 ex and current political members, It's a huge organisation. As far as I understand it, they were meeting this September, perhaps around now, to finalise their future plans. Perhaps we could reach out to them in the future just to understand where they're at, what they're doing, make them aware of us. And I suppose, finally, it's worth noting that, you know, on a positive note, that whilst you're here on Wednesday, the Scottish Parliament will be holding a debate on the Palestine issue. And this is important because it's the first governmentally led debate. As you say, we've had numerous debates brought forward by members, but they're not binding. We don't vote on them. So this will be the first Scottish Government debate, which will then be binding, and that's on Wednesday afternoon. Obviously, we'll keep you guys updated about that. So yeah, thank you.